Okay, so page 2. We're only on page 2. Vijaya. 2. It says, it's the page that says Kendras, and has a chart that says Dharma, Moksha, Kama, Artha. Now Parashara mentions, and I listed it right here, the order that he mentions it. He says houses, he divides houses into various groups. Kendras, Paṇapharas, Āpoklimas, Kona, Dushtanas, Chaturashraya, and Upachaya. These are the divisions that he divides the house into. And so we'll go through that in those order. So the first one is Kendras. Kendras means angle. The Sanskrit is Kona. The English, the Greek for that is Kendra, and the English is angle. And those angles are 1, 4, 7, and 10. In the signs, they're the Chara Rashis. In the houses, they're 1, 4, 7, and 10. So in the North Indian chart, do you see how they stand out? Now the first house is the house connected to Dharma. Dharma is what your nature is, what you're supposed to do. What's the Dharma of a chair? To be sat in, to provide support for you to sit. That's the Dharma of a chair. The Dharma of a pillow is to comfort your head. So your Dharma, what is your Dharma? What is your purpose? What are you, your natural, what are you naturally meant to do? You can take a chair and stand on it and use it like a ladder, but that's not its Dharma. Just like you can do things that aren't your Dharma, but what is the Dharma that you were born to do? This is seen from the first house and its trines. Trines is the 5th and 9th house. 1, 5, and 9 are trines. Kona means trines. That's what it is. Kona means trines, Kendra means angles. And Kendras is an interesting word that is argued to come from the Greek. Whether that's there's no Sanskrit root for the word Kendra.
They didn't go around making up words like they do here, do they?
You can make up as many words as you want.
Right.
You use the roots and you can make up words.
What would the Sanskrit word for Kendra be then?
This is the Sanskrit word, but there's no Sanskrit root for it.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of people say it's a Greek word. It came from the Greek. So the Kona, the trines from the first house are 1, 5, and 9. They're the trines, the Kona. Trikonasana. The pose, Trikonasana, it's the triangle pose. So it's the triangle of 1, 5, 9. Do you see how it makes a triangle? If you connect 1, 5, 9 together? Do you see that, Jane? The triangle? Draw the line. Connect 1, 5, and 9.
That makes it easier to see. And often I'll try.
Draw right from the front. Right from... Yeah. Watch this. I'll even do it up big. 1, 5,
Oh, okay.
9, 1. You see that triangle?
Yeah.
So the first house is the Dharma house. And these are the trines to support that house. The triangle is the strongest shape. The pyramid is that strongest shape. This is the support, this is Dharma. Dharma and its support. Okay? Fourth house is the Moksha house. What is Moksha?
Liberation.
Liberation. What is it as a goal of our life?
Spirituality.
It's our spiritual path to get to liberation. So if that's the Kendra, right? The Kendra, 1, 4, 7, and 10 are Kendras. So this is the Moksha Kendra. Draw and see the trines. So the trines to the 4th house are the 8th house and the 12th house. So these are the Moksha trines from the primary Moksha Kendra.
Yeah, I heard once that even though a planet's in the 12th house doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because it's a moksha, or it's the end to something.
Bad and good is relative. Bad for material purposes? Most likely. Bad for spirituality? Definitely not.
Yeah.
This is the place where spirituality and materiality don't mix. In the 4th house, they're still mixing. Because true spirituality is in the heart. Has nothing to do with the material realm. But at some point, the material realm does interfere, and we see that as the 12th house. Okay?
The 8th house was
8th house, we'll get to that soon. First, we're going to focus on the Kendras, then we'll focus on the Āpoklima. And
because it's part of the spiritual stuff, right?
we'll get there. The main thing now is it's the trine.
Okay.
And it's just like these houses are the support of this Kendra of Dharma. These are the support of the Kendra of Moksha. So they're the Moksha trines. 7th house is Kama. Kama is what?
Pleasure.
What else?
Spouse.
It's your getting your desires fulfilled. Other desires, like,
Maya.
well, getting, like, if you have a desire to, like, get recognition, that's Kama too. Yeah.
The fulfillment of desires and pleasure. So it's not just pleasure, but it's the act of fulfilling, and just like moksha, as an ayana, it's not just liberation, but it's the act of liberation. So it's not just the moment that you get enlightenment, it's everything involved in the path of enlightenment. So the Kama Kendra, it's not just pleasure, but it's everything involved in the act of getting pleasure. Important to keep a broad perspective there.
All the Raja stuff.
All the Raja stuff. Everything Rajas, and not all desire is Rajas. At that, at a highest level, any desire is Rajas. But there's sattvic desires as well. So
The triangle's pointed down,
point it down.
which is the opposite of the Dharma
Which is
triangle.
the opposite of the Dharma houses, exactly. So the Dharma trines are connected to the Purusha, taking us upwards into the Absolute, where the Kama trines are downwards, taking us into the Prakriti, material creation.
And is
So-
this important, sorry,
Yeah.
when you see some of those triangles and some yantras and stuff, what direction it's pointing?
Oh, 100%.
Because it's totally related to this?
100%.
Amazing.
The
Right.
Purusha Prakriti aspect of whether it's taking you up or taking you down,
Okay.
and the interlacing of the upward and downward energy. It's very much so.
important. Okay.
And if you look at the Sri Yantra,
Mhm.
there's not an even amount of up and downward. So that way, the Sri Yantra can't be upward. You can't put it any direction.
Mhm.
It has a very specific amount going up and a very specific amount going down.
So this is interesting. Why are Dharma and Moksha going in different directions? You think if you follow the Dharma,
Well, if you actually look, Kama and Dharma are two different directions.
yeah, but even
Kama's going up to Purusha, Kama's coming down. If you look at Moksha, it's
It's at a right angle.
it's
Right
at a
angle,
different. It basically that's going with Artha. It's different directions.
but even
Pointing
Moksha
south.
and
Artha
Dharma.
and Moksha
So that's
go in
Agni.
the opposite direction.
Moksha and Artha are forming a triangle, and Dharma and Kama are forming a triangle. Now, if you notice, we can say they're going different directions, but bottom line is, when what we worship, in the heart chakra, is we worship what we call the Star of David in English, but it's the two triangles coming together. It's the coming together of Purusha and Prakriti. So Dharma is the Purusha, where Kama is the Prakriti, and it's those two coming together that give us the creation. of life. And it's a balance between them that gives us a healthy, prosperous life. So it's not saying that one is bad or one is good. They're both there. They're both an integral aspect of bhava, of existence.
So you need a balance between artha and moksha too.
Exactly.
Is there a...
You can't just spend your whole... I mean, unless you become a monk.
Yeah.
And then the artha becomes the ashram's job.
Right.
Then in your life you need a balance between the artha and the moksha.
Right.
You need to go to work, you need to have your spiritual practice.
Is there a Purusha Prakriti type thing going with the moksha artha too?
Prakriti is the moksha.
Moksha or?
Kali Gayatri.
And
Moksha is the Kali.
Artha?
Look at that. Moksha is the Kali Gayatri. Artha is the Vishnu Gayatri.
Oh, right.
Right?
Because you're looking
High
at day
noon.
night.
High noon is the Artha. That's Vishnu Gayatri. Remember?
I must have missed that class.
No, it was this morning.
40 minutes ago.
The first house, 24 minutes before, 24 minutes after, is Brahma Gayatri. 10th house, 24 minutes before high noon, 24 minutes afterwards is Vishnu Gayatri. Artha, sustenance of the world.
But see, just to
Mama is
add-
Shiva Gayatri.
So some people's dharma may be to make money, which is artha. Some people's dharma may be to live a pleasurable life. Some people's dharma is to live moksha.
No, that's not the dharma. We'll get to that, and let me finish all of them, and then let's go into that. So then we have artha, which is making money, and that is the 10th house and its trines. The 10th house and its trines, which are the 2nd house and the 6th house. Basically, if you calculate which of those trines has more planets, that's where a person's putting more energy in their life. Doesn't mean that's their dharma, but it does mean that that's where their focus is. The dharma of the person is always seen from 159. What they are innately made, it's the Brahma Gayatri. What they were, the lagna is connected to Brahma. Prajapati in the 33 Deva scheme is the lagna. Of the 33 Devas, lagna is Prajapati. So that's the Brahma Gayatri. So that shows what dharma you were created with. And it's always seen from 159. Now what your focus in life is your focus in doing what you were created to do? Or is your focus in, making money, or is your focus in finding your pleasures? That's going to be seen by if somebody has all their planets in the 2nd, 6th, and 10th, all their energy goes there. All their energy goes into artha. So looking at those houses and which has more planets is going to show us where the energy and people in our life are focused. Okay? So it's not that their dharma is to do artha. Their dharma is their dharma, what they were created for. Whether they spend most of their life pursuing artha or their dharma, that's going to be shown by the coagulation of planets. As well as dashas. Dashas will be opening different ayanas of life. Different goals.
So you found it to pretty much be true that people's energy will go to where the predominance of their planets are?
There'll be more focus there. But remember I added a little thing on there. It's dependent on dasha as well.
Okay.
And like what happens a lot of times is when people start studying Vedic astrology, they're in a very spiritual dasha. They're looking, no, that's not me. Give them, they say to be a good Jyotishi, after 29 years, after Saturn's gone through all the signs, then you get to know Jyotish.
You haven't even started yet.
That's right. So the thing is, at different periods of time there'll be different focuses. So
how do you stick with this if you change planetary periods? I mean, like...
There has to be certain combinations that make you into Jyotish for the long haul. Because there's people who are in it just for the short term. There's both that exist. And depends on the combinations in the chart. So we got the Kendra. Okay? So these 4 middle houses are the pillars of our life. planets placed there are going to color our life and our personality. If somebody has lots of planets in the 10th house, their focus is much more career artha focused. If there's a lot of planets in the 7th, that's the energy that's coloring the life. Planets in those 4 houses are very heavily influence the personality of the person. Very important. So in this North Indian chart, the personality stands out very strong. Okay? So that's Kendra. Kendra is that standing out. What is coloring the life? So then we have Paṇaphara and Āpoklimas. And I know there's strange words, but we'll get used to them. Paṇaphara are the house following the Kendra. So the house next to the first Kendra is the second. Our next Kendra is the 4th house. So the house following that is the 5th house. So what's the next Paṇaphara?
10.
No.
Oh.
Next Paṇaphara.
11.
8.
Oh,
Oh,
8th house, because it's the 7th is the Kendra. The second from it is the 8th. And so our last Paṇaphara
11.
is the 11th, because it's the house after that Kendra. So we see how that's calculated. Everybody see that, right? The Āpoklima is the house before the Kendra. So that house before so give me the I'll say the Kendra. The Kendra is the Kama Kendra. What's the Āpoklima before?
Is the 6th house.
The one before the 4th?
Third.
The one before the Karma Sthana?
The 9th.
So the 9th house is an Āpoklima. And the one before the first?
12.
12. So the 12th house is an Āpoklima. Okay. What does that mean? What's the difference between Paṇapharas and Āpoklimas?
One is after the king, one is before the king.
So the
What's the translation?
And so what's that mean?
Paṇaphara would sustain and the Āpoklima would complete or
Think about Argo.
Argo.
So one supports
Block.
and one blocks.
Was what?
One supports and one blocks.
Oh.
Do the Paṇapharas support?
The Paṇapharas are more that which is heading towards the future.
Wait, is it the Paṇaphara or Āpoklima? It says Paṇaphara house relate to the past.
Paṇapharas relate to the past.
Page 3 last sentence.
Paṇapharas relate to the past?
And the resources one has to achieve the goal.
Okay. Oh. They're what you have to attain your the Āpoklima, the 12th, is more the past.
The Paṇaphara is the past. It relates to the past.
And the resources.
It's resources.
Okay. Sustenance.
Resources.
Resources.
So is that what you mean by more supportive? Yeah.
Oh, you know, in the next page you have Āpoklima show the future. So.
I mixed it up here, huh?
Is it, so should we reverse it, cross it out?
Where's it?
Top of the next page 4, the top of it, the first sentence says Āpoklima show the future.
Well, it shows it. It says it on the 3rd page too.
Right.
It says the Āpoklima show the future. What the other 2 houses are aspiring towards.
Is that still the problem?
Okay. Then what I'm doing, and Āpoklimas. Then what I'm doing is I'm mixing up. Āpoklimas are the second, and Paṇapharas are the 12th. Is that right?
Paṇapharas are before.
Paṇapharas are 2, 5, 8, 11. Right?
So we just change out the word, so instead of Paṇaphara, Āpoklima?
No. Paṇapharas are the second 5, 8, and 11.
Paṇapharas are the second 5,
Yeah.
8, and
You
11.
just need to change past and future.
Right.
Paṇapharas relate to the future, and Āpoklimas relate to the past.
That's true.
We'll just change those 2 words.
Okay.
Oh,
But
well,
Āpoklima
So all
is...
the
That doesn't
examples,
seem right either.
Yeah,
it seems like maybe it's a little bit of both. In different...
context.
I want to like support him and say he didn't make a mistake.
let's look from the houses. The Dharma trines. So from the Dharma trine, if we look at the Dharma, we have a Kendra. And from that, we have 1 Paṇaphara and 1 Āpoklima. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that Paṇaphara is showing the future. What you are creating for yourself. The children that you're creating. The 9th house, which is our Āpoklima, is showing your father, your guru, that which has come before you.
Yeah. So it is... You did mix up future and past.
I did mix it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you just said now is take Āpoklima
I gotta
is
take and
past,
change
his
them.
father is past, children is Paṇaphara, and that's future. That's the 5th house.
Okay.
Yeah, so we just cross it out, no big
But
deal.
does that correspond with every single,
Yeah, that corresponds to all of them.
all of them?
This is written at like 11 o'clock at night after working a full day at work. So, I mean...
Okay, so it goes past and then future.
So,
Use the Dharma Sthana as the
Dharma, so from the
5th house
from the 5th
is
house.
children, the future. 9th house is the past, your gurus and your father.
Oh.
And the Kendra is you, the present.
Oh, right. Which one shows which?
Okay?
Past, present, and future.
So, in that same way, let's look at the 10th house.
So the Artha trine?
Okay.
present. So the 11th would be the future.
No. The trine's from the Karma Sthana.
But then why is the 5th house, I'm sorry, why is the 5th house looked at to determine a person's, what do they call it, the Purva Punya, the past life, the merit from the past life?
There's both, the 5th and 9th are both showing the Purva Punya, yeah. The 5th house, not only is it showing the future as children, but if you remember, it's pratibha, the intuition.
Oh.
So it's the main house we use to be able to see the future,
Oh.
to make guesses into the future. And the 9th house is Dharma. It's the main thing that's showing us the tradition that's coming, that's been given to us, that we've inherited.
Oh, we've inherited what's in the 9th house.
So if we look from the 10th house, the 6th house is showing, and I guess I mixed it up when I wrote it, but if we look from the 10th house, that 5th house is showing the money, the 5th from the 10th, which is our 2nd. That's showing the money that we're going to make.
Oh, from working hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the 6th house shows what work and service we've put in. So I mixed it up when I wrote it. So just cross that out. And forgive me for late night writing.
Early morning writing.
I have to leave for work at 7 o'clock.
So
I
you
have
have-
all my sadhana done before that.
So you have 2 levels of Kendra, Para,
For every
and
Kendra,
Āpoklima.
which is the present, we have a Paṇaphara and an Āpoklima
Right.
that goes
And
to
then
it
from
in
every
shrine.
triangle, which is a
Mhm.
different level of this. right?
So that's why I kind of stopped Umesh. He's like, well, what's the 8th house? And I wanted to wait till we got to this.
Okay.
So here's our triangle, right? So if we look, this is the present for our spirituality. What is the present? Jane, what's the present for our spirituality? 4th house.
Yeah.
So what is it? What's the present of our spiritual path?
What we're doing today, spiritually.
What we feel right now is our present spirituality.
Yeah.
What you're carrying in your heart right now, what's going on, this is also, it's the heart, but at the level it's also the mind. It's the emotional feelings of the mind. So what your mind is feeling and thinking right now, that's your spirituality. Right here in the present, not looking at the past, not looking at the future. Your spirituality is what's going on with your mind and your heart right now. That's the present of spirituality, moksha. With me? Mm-hmm. We take the triangle down. This is the future. This is the past. Right? The Paṇaphara and the Āpoklima, being supporting to each. So using that understanding, what is the 12th house? What is the 8th house? Relative to this spirituality.
I understand how the 8th house would be the effort a person would, engage in to further their devotional or spiritual or feeling.
But the 12th?
Isn't that like a future thing too? Like
the 12th is what you've lost, what you've given up, what time you've done in.
Oh, what time? The time you served.
The time you've served.
When you were in jail.
The 8th.
What you've renounced.
What you've renounced.
Oh.
So what if Jupiter's in the 12th?
Then all these pujas and all this stuff, eventually they have to be renounced. But look at the Vimshamsha for clarification on that. That's, in the 8th house, this is our future. What does the 8th house show on the spiritual level?
Transformation, liberation.
The transformation and inner change that's happening and going to happen based on our state of mind and the time that we've put in and the things that we've renounced. It's connected to the Kundalini. So this is what will awaken in us. What is awakening in us? It's the house of occult knowledge and learning.
And those awakenings will happen during the dashas of the span of the 8th house?
That's, you got to use A.K. Kendrati and Drig Dasha. You have to use the spiritual dashas. You won't be seeing that from them shows.
That is good.
I'm just being.
I know you.
So, as you saw right there, I wrote something wrong, but what did I use to fix myself?
A good excuse.
What did I use to fix myself? I used logic with it, but more than logic, what was the logic based on?
It was based on the function of the trine houses in relation to the aim of life, and you demonstrated that.
The fundamental foundation of what the houses are meaning and how they're interacting. When we understand the foundation, we can sit there and memorize what houses mean, but then we're limited to a simple meaning. Just like when we did the signs, I didn't teach you just the sign means this, the sign means that. I taught you a fundamental principle of which we can connect everything to. So in the same way, I'm not saying this house is this house is that. I'm showing you the rule of which we're getting things from the houses. Okay? So I just threw out what I wrote because whatever I was thinking when I wrote it, and I went back to the fundamental rule and I applied the rule from this point right here in time to show what that house means. So the bottom line is, forget everything I say, but don't forget the fundamental principle. If you just remember that trine, 1, 5, 9, 1 is you, 5 is children, 9th is the guru, the father. Then you can always remember that it's what's coming before giving to that trine. And the 5th is what you're getting and creating from that trine.
Creating. What you're creating. So with the 8th house, the 5th from the 4th, it shows the intuition of our heart, a deeper side of our feelings.
Siddhi comes from the 8th house. The 8th and the 10th. You know, so it's this it's the occult power, the occult knowledge. The knowledge of things that aren't known on a material level. It's the spiritual intelligence. If we look at it just from the 5th, from as the moksha trine, it's that spiritual intelligence and understanding. And spiritual intelligence is not material intelligence.
So the 4th house is the foundation for all moksha-related activities.
Yeah.
Right.
But you said the 8th house is transformation, things that we renounce, awakening.
12th is things that we renounce. 12th is the house of loss. Remember the basic signification of the houses. That first chart we went over. If you see, I keep bringing those same energetic significations back to those areas. Even though it's the 9th from the 4th, it's still the house of loss. And so that 9th, that which is, you see, that's 9th house. What is the 9th house from the Lagna? What makes a person the father? He who protects you. Right? So if we look at the 9th house from the moksha trine, that which is protecting your spirituality. To do meditation every day and to calm yourself down, that's protecting your spirituality. In this way, you see how I just went back to the basics and then I take it and I apply. So we have a basic framework and we keep applying it, turning, shifting, changing. But we're applying that same basic concept. Okay? Bhavak Bhavam.